for that. Thank you. All right, I guess let me start my open. Let me start my open over again. I appreciate that. There is no audio. There is no audio. Appreciate that. I definitely would have been talking for the next 45 minutes and nothing would have recorded. All right. So anyway, let me go back to what I was saying. So the trade deadline is come and gone for the Baltimore Ravens, and they made no moves today. All leading up into this last week, all we kept hearing is Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry. Even last night, Josh Jacobs. We heard Dalvin Cook. We heard Danielle Hunter. And at the end of all of it, the Ravens decide we're not going to make any moves at all. Here's my take on that. I've already got a few people inbox me like, Retro, what's your take on the Ravens doing nothing? The Ravens are a smart organization. If they don't make a move, it's because they feel like they don't have to, or they're under the mindset of right player, right price. So if the Ravens don't make a move, it's because of, one, they didn't get an offer that they like, the right player, right price, or they felt like their team is good to where they don't need to make a move. In this situation, I feel like the Ravens felt like they were content. They would have made a move if the price was right, but they felt content. And honestly, I agree. If you look at the roster, there isn't really one glaring weakness on this team. So the biggest thing with the Ravens is, can you stay healthy? Because the roster, if it plays on paper, it's a very good roster. It just needs to play and get playing time. We still haven't seen Tyus Bowser yet. Don't know what's going on with that. But defensive line has played pretty good. We lead the league in sacks. 31 sacks. We lead the league in sacks as a team, as a collective. The secondary has been playing pretty solid. You know, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, Geno Stone leads the league in interceptions. Brandon Stevens, the secondary look good. And don't even get me started with the linebackers. Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, Malik Harrison. The linebackers look pretty solid. What's up, Conscious Biddy? Welcome in. So, if you look up and down the roster, there isn't really much weakness. And if you try to look for a weakness, I feel like you're nitpicking at that point. I feel like the roster is pretty good. The wide receivers you got, like I do have to mention this every week. OBJ, even though like I said, OBJ hasn't done much. OBJ, Nelson Aguilar, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, Isaiah. You got receivers. You don't need a quarterback. You got Lamar Jackson. Offensive line, you got Ronnie Stanley, Zeitler, Linderbaum, Moses, Patrick McCurry. The offensive line looks good. Special teams, you don't need a kicker. You got the best kicker in the league. Punter, Jordan Stout. Well, hopefully you don't trade for a punter, because if you're trading for a punter, that means your offense ain't moving. And based on the roster that we have with the Ravens on offense, they should be moving the ball up and down to where they don't need a kicker. They don't need a punter because the offense is doing its thing. So you don't need special teams. You don't need quarterback. You don't need receiver. You don't need offensive line. Your defensive line is playing good. Your linebackers are playing good. What do you need? I feel like anything that they did do would be either for depth or to make them literally overpowered. Like when the rumors came out that they were looking at Derrick Henry, I'm like, what is the reason you could be looking at Derrick Henry? And that goes into my first question is, why were you searching for a running back to begin with? Here's my thoughts on that. J.K. Dobbins is done for the season. I really, with his injury history, I really don't think the Ravens are going to re-sign him. I really don't. I don't think the Ravens are going to. I don't think and J.K. was a second-round pick, so he doesn't have a fifth-year option. So they can't option him for a fifth year. I don't think the Ravens are going to pay him. So I feel like you were looking at a running back, either one for the future or one just to get past this season. Because if Gus Edwards or Justice Hill gets hurt, Mitchell hasn't been on the field. Who do you have? You know what I'm saying? Derrick Henry, like I mentioned a couple days ago, Lamar Jackson with a Derrick Henry and the RPO, how do you stop that? You take away Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry's going to run all over you. You take away Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson can do whatever he wants in a read option. So, to me, you're looking for a running back because that tells me, at least what I'm thinking, is that you're not going to re-sign J.K. Dobbins because he's always injured. Like, he came in the league in 2020. He missed all of 2021. He played one game this year. Not even a full game. He played half a game this year. So that's 2 out of the 4 seasons you basically didn't play anything. Last year he played half the games. So the only season that he really was out there was the first season. That was the pandemic season. That was 2020. He wasn't, like I said, 2021 missed the whole year. 2022 played half the season. 2023 he played a half a game. What is J.K. Dobbins' value? If you're looking to give him a contract, what is his value? You can't pay him with the top running backs because he hasn't performed. He hasn't stayed healthy. We all know when he's on the field, he's actually a pretty good running back. But when you're paying top dollar, you can't go off of the fact that, when he's out there. Availability is just as good as production. You know what I'm saying? There's not much sample size of J.K. Dobbins because he isn't out there. I love J.K. Dobbins. He was one of my favorite players that they drafted. But if we're just being real here, the man hasn't played football. So the Ravens were looking. So the fact that the Ravens were looking for a running back at the trade deadline tells me that J.K. Dobbins is not going to be there next year. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Gus Edwards. This potential running back that they were looking for may have been their future piece going forward, or at least a bridge to get them to free agency where they can sign a running back. Because honestly, if they had got Derrick Henry, I'm not even 1,000% sure they would have re-signed Derrick Henry to a long term. He's already 30 years old. You know what happens to running backs when they hit 30 years old? They start to fall apart. Surprisingly, Derrick Henry has been one of the few that has actually kind of went against that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what do you do? You know what I'm saying? Now, here's the thing. In the short term, I think Gus Edwards is going to get you through the rest of the season. You got Justice Hill, who's a great complementary back because he's more of a speed guy. And Gus Edwards is more of the power running back. So you got that nice little duo going on there. Derrick Henry plays more like Gus Edwards. He's more of a physical Gus Edwards. I think Gus Edwards is really good though. But I think Derrick Henry's a more physical, knock you over, explode for the long run kind of guy. Gus Edwards is more of a consistent guy. He'll get you 8-9 yards, and then every once in a while he'll pop out for a 15-17 yard gain. But you rarely see Gus Edwards get the big one. Like Derrick Henry just goes 99 yards, 60 yards. Like he can do that any given moment. Derrick Henry can go off on you. Like Gus Edwards isn't that kind of running back, but he's a consistent runner. He's going to give you 5 yards a carry. You know what I'm saying? So I think the Ravens were going for a running back because I felt like they're not going to re-sign Dobbins. They're not really 1,000% sure what they're going to do with Gus Edwards. And they're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. So why not load up on the roster as much as you can? If you had a chance to get Derrick Henry, this team is going to go places. That narrative of Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs, that'll be over. Because if you got Derrick Henry, they're beating the first opponent. They're beating the second opponent. Because the defense has to worry about how do you stop. What do you do here? Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, receivers, tight ends all over the place. Unfortunately, it's not a reality because they didn't get them. I was also hearing about Josh Jacobs. They were potentially looking at Josh Jacobs. I saw a report earlier. Talking about the Ravens had reached out. I don't know how true it is, but the Ravens had reached out to the Raiders about Josh Jacobs. I don't know how true that was. I feel like he might have been an easier target to get because the Raiders are garbage. They lost last night, but Josh Jacobs is a good running back. Maybe they pursue him down the line, but they didn't get nobody at the trade deadline. Josh Jacobs would have been a great piece. Also, some trades that they didn't make. Chase Young went to the 49ers the Commanders, which we all knew Chase Young was in his last year with the I was about to say the Redskins. Chase Young was in his last year with the Commanders anyway, so we knew. I had a strong hunch that the Commanders were going to trade Chase Young. Would he have looked nice on this defensive line? Of course. That would have been overkill because you got Matabike playing good. You got Michael Pierce playing good. Jadeveon Clowney playing good. You got the Ravens have a defensive front. If you had a Chase Young, this is overkill. If the Ravens had got Chase Young, this is overkill. The Commanders traded Chase Young, and the 49ers gave up a 3rd round pick. Now remember, Chase Young was the 2nd overall pick back in 2020. So you got back a 3rd round pick when you drafted him number 2 overall. You know what I'm saying? So that goes to tell you the value of a player, because he's in his last year. He's in his last year of his deal. So he's the 2nd overall pick in 2020, and you got back a 3rd round pick for him. You know what I'm saying? So not only that, I feel like Chase Young is a good player. I feel like injuries, and I never feel like he never lived up to the 2nd round pick. I think we all know he has talent, but the fact that you got a 3rd round pick for a 2nd round guy is crazy. It's crazy, because let me say this again: a 2nd overall pick, and the Commanders. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not a GM, but I feel like you could at least got a 2nd round pick, or maybe a 3rd and something else. But just for a straight up 3rd round pick, and this is coming from ESPN Adam Schefter, so I'm assuming this is right. You could have got a 3rd round pick and a 5th, but just to get a 3rd is crazy to me when the guy was drafted 2nd overall. Now he's going to the 49ers defensive line, where their defense is already good. Now, concerning the last couple of weeks, they have not been. They lost 2 games or 3 out of 4 games. What are the Niners? 5-3. They were number 1 in my power ranking for like the first 4 or 5 weeks. They have not been playing all that good recently. What's up, Juice? The Ravens could have got him. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like that's overkill. And but honestly, you know how the Ravens are. They don't like getting rid of draft picks. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if the Ravens would have given up. But honestly, to give up a 3rd round pick and that's it for Chase Young, you make that deal. Especially because what are you going to do next year? You got Matabike playing for a contract. You got Geno Stone playing for a contract. You got guys playing for contracts that are doing really well for the Ravens. Maybe you're like, all right, well, maybe we don't need a Chase Young because we need to sign Matabike. I don't think you trade for a Chase Young and then let him walk. I think you try to re-sign him long term. So maybe that's the reason why the Ravens didn't go after Chase Young. Some other trades that went down. The Commanders also traded Montez Sweat to the Bears for a 2nd round pick. Now Montez Sweat is having a better season than Chase Young right now, so it makes sense why you got a 2nd round pick in return. But I'm not really sure what the Bears were doing trading for Montez Sweat. I mean, the team is already garbage. I'm not really sure what the Bears are trying to do. Montez Sweat going to a team. Montez Sweat should be going to a contending team. He should not be going to the Chicago Bears, a team that's like 4 or 5 games under 500. I'm not sure what the Bears were doing with that. And on top of the fact that Montez Sweat is in the last year of his contract, so I'm not really sure what the Bears are doing there. That's kind of an interesting one. I'm not really sure what. But once again, the Ravens could have got him. Of course, shoulda, coulda, woulda. The Ravens could have got this. It's all about right player, right price. So I'm assuming the Ravens felt like they would have had to give up a lot to get Montez Sweat, and they was like, "Fuck it, we like what we got. Let's keep what we got." So they was like, "No." Some other notable names that got traded that would have had impact on the Ravens. Dalvin Cook didn't get traded from the Jets. The Ravens were looking for a running back. That may have been a good option. If you were looking at Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook wouldn't have been a bad option. Like I said, Josh Jacobs didn't go anywhere. Zach Moss from the Colts didn't go anywhere. They were talking about since Jonathan Taylor got re-signed with the Colts earlier this year, and Zach Moss filled in beautifully. If you remember that game, if you're a Ravens fan, you remember that game, the Colts versus Ravens, how Zach Moss looked against us. The Ravens had a first-hand look at what he can do. That would have been a nice addition, but he stayed. Reality, the Ravens didn't need much. The Ravens didn't need anything, honestly. So this is all just like, yeah. The Lions got Donovan Peoples-Jones from the Browns. And Peoples-Jones, the most catches he had was in 2022 of 61. He's a nice little piece for Jared Goff, I would say. But he wasn't really getting utilized with the Browns that much. He only had 8 catches in 7 games. So I guess he was expendable. You got Amari Cooper there. So I guess he was expendable. I mean, really, the Ravens didn't need to do anything. I'm looking at trades, and I'm like, the Ravens didn't need to do anything. So I'm content. I really am content with the fact that, like, and granted, I'm not a big Twitter guy or X or whatever the fuck it's called now. I'm not a big Twitter guy, but I was reading opinions from people now. People are kind of upset that the Ravens didn't make any moves, and I'm like, well, yeah, you wanna go for the Super Bowl, and yeah, getting any of the names that I just mentioned would put you over the top, especially a Derrick Henry. But reality is they didn't need to make a move. I literally just went through every position, and I don't really see a weakness. Geno Stone is leading the league in interceptions. You got Kyle Hamilton back there. You got Marcus Williams. You got Marlon Humphrey, Brandon Stevens in the nickelback role. You got players. Rock Yassin. Secondary is good. Linebackers, Roquan and Patrick Queen. Defensive line, Matabike Clowney, Michael Pierce. And we're still waiting for Tyus Bowser to come back. You don't need anything. Offensive line is good. Stanley, Zeitler, Linderbaum, Moses, and who's playing? I forgot right guard. I can't think of right guard. Oh no, I mean left guard. I can't think of left guard off the top of my head. It can't be. I don't think it's Ben Cleveland. I forgot who's playing right guard, left guard. So, and then like, you don't need a quarterback. Lamar Jackson is good. Running back may be the only position I can really say, okay, maybe you need something there as another guy, because Kenyon Drake has went to the Browns. The Browns signed Kenyon Drake off the practice squad from the Ravens. So you don't have Kenyon Drake anymore. You still got Melvin Gordon. I mean, does my face look excited when I say Melvin Gordon's name? Look at my face. I guess as a backup role, cool. You got the best. You got good special teams. So the Ravens didn't need to make a move. So I'm on Twitter and I'm like, people like are upset like the Ravens didn't make a move. Like, oh, here we go again. The Ravens didn't make any moves. What did they need to make? Reality. The biggest thing for the Ravens is staying healthy. So I guess if you were going to make a move, is because you're afraid that one of your most injury-prone guys will get injured, and you're concerned that maybe an injury may take you away from getting to where you got to get to. But if everybody stays healthy, this team is really good. So, that goes back to my point. The team is very good if healthy. You know what I'm saying? The main thing is Lamar don't get hurt. Zay Flowers don't get hurt. Rashad Bateman or Mark Andrews don't get hurt. And OBJ. Because even though OBJ isn't doing much right now, I think OBJ is a crucial part to where the Ravens are trying to go. As long as none of those guys get hurt, we should be good. Offensive line has been looking shaky. Against the Lions, they gave up no sacks. Against the Cardinals, they gave up like 3 or 4 sacks. Like, the offensive line can be up and down sometimes. So if there is anything to nitpick, the Ravens there was a few games the Ravens gave up a lot of sacks. But there's also a few games where the Ravens didn't give up any sacks, or one or 2 sacks. I remember the Cincinnati game, they did pretty good. The Lions game, they did pretty good. The Cleveland game against Myles Garrett, you know how good Myles Garrett is. They did pretty good. So it's like the offensive line maybe, but they've also had games where they look pretty good as well. So I don't really think you need anything there. So, I'm not mad about the trade deadline. I think people got accustomed to the Ravens making a move every single year at the deadline. Like last year we got Roquan Smith. One year we got Yannick Ngakoue. Another year we got Marcus Peters. So I think people are expecting the Ravens to make a move because it's kind of like a tradition that the Ravens make a move. Since Eric DeCosta got there, has been in that role, they've been known to make a move almost every single deadline. So it's like people have gotten accustomed to wanting to see the Ravens make a move. Oh, trade deadline, Ravens going to make a move. So when the Ravens don't make a move, everybody's like, well, what the fuck? But you don't need to. All right. That's it about trade talk. I mean, there's not much to discuss with trades because there was none, at least from the Ravens side. And I kind of touched on some of the trades that other teams made. Let's get into this game that happened on Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, going into the game, the Ravens, like I said earlier, the other day, the Ravens, they beat teams like Arizona. They beat teams like the Lions. Lamar Jackson plays good against NFC teams. So I didn't expect the Ravens to lose this game, but it was kind of getting a little iffy. You know, I was streaming at the time. I was watching the game and streaming. I'm like, Arizona scored first. Uh-oh. What's going on defense? But then the offense in the second half, they started to run the ball more. And even Lamar Jackson in the press conference said, we should have run the ball more. And I thought that was kind of interesting because it was a few times that Lamar Jackson hinted at that kind of was like taking a shot at Todd Monken. He was like, yeah, I wish we had ran the ball more. We should have ran the ball more. And I'm like, is he taking a shot at Todd Monken? Because to my understanding, I thought the Ravens gave Lamar Jackson more free access to call his own shots at the line of scrimmage. So if you felt like the Ravens we should have been running the ball more and you call your own shots for the most part, can't you check into running plays? Like I said, I'm not behind the scenes. But if you go back and look at Lamar Jackson's press conference, what's up, Tiffy B? How you feeling today? If you go back and look at the press conference, Lamar Jackson, and it was somebody else, I forgot who, somebody else said it too. It was like, we should have ran the ball more. And I was like, we didn't run the ball more. Because somebody asked, what was the reason for why y'all passed the ball? Or why weren't y'all as efficient in the first half as y'all were in the second half? And he was like, we should have ran the ball more. I'm like, and granted, I appreciate the honesty in how you feel. If you felt like y'all should have been running the ball more, then that's your God honest opinion and that's how you feel. Cool, I'm not mad about it, but I just feel like, damn, is that a shot at Todd Monken? Like, you feel like, I mean, hey, transparency is good. So I don't think Monken or anybody is feeling any kind of way about it. Because if your star quarterback, the guy that you paid all this money to, is saying we should have been doing this, we should have been doing that, you should be valuing that opinion and taking that into consideration for the next game. But it is interesting how he said that. I'm like, okay, all right. But I also was wondering, like, you call your own plays too. You call your own plays at the line of scrimmage. You got more access. I mean, you could have been checking into running plays yourself. What's up, Tiffy B? Anyway, Lamar Jackson didn't have the kind of game he had against the Detroit Lions. He had 357 yards against the Lions. He only had like 182 against the Cardinals. But here's the beautiful thing about the Ravens team. They can beat you multiple ways. One week, Lamar Jackson's throwing the ball over the field, 300 yards, almost 400 yards. The next week, you got Gus Edwards, 3 touchdowns. You're feeding him the ball. The Ravens can beat you multiple ways. Yeah, would you love to see Lamar Jackson throwing 200, 300, 250 and above every week with 3 touchdown passes? Of course you would. Of course you would. But of course, defenses are going to be game planning against the Ravens to not allow that to happen every single week. So that's why you got the running game to complement the passing game. When Lamar Jackson doesn't need to have a 300-yard passing game every week because you got a Gus Edwards, you got a Justice Hill, you got Monken drawing up jet sweep for Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers for the running game. And I like the fact that Rashad Bateman got a jet sweep. I've never seen the Rashad Bateman, since he's been with the Ravens, get a running curry like that on a jet sweep. It was great to see. You usually see Devin Duvernay, Zay Flowers this year. We got to see that with Rashad Bateman. I'm like, okay, you're trying to get him involved. I like it. Because he damn sure ain't been catching the ball. He damn sure ain't been being targeted like that. Y'all rarely target Rashad Bateman. So you found a way to get him the ball in other ways. I like that. I like that they got Rashad Bateman the ball in another kind of way to get him going. You know? So, yes, as a fantasy owner, which I'm not, but as a fantasy owner, yeah, you would probably love to see Lamar Jackson throw 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, run for another, throw 300 yards every single game. But the fact that you were able to beat a team in a different kind of way, in terms of running the ball tells me the versatility of this team. Which is why I'm not mad that they didn't make a trade. Because the Ravens have everything that they need to compete for a Super Bowl. They really do. Their biggest concern to why they won't make the Super Bowl is the same reason every single year. Somebody gets hurt at the wrong time. Lamar Jackson misses the second half of the season. Marquise Brown is hurt. Mark Andrews is hurt. It's always, your running backs are hurt. J.K. Dobbins, Gus, that was that 1 year they were both out. You know what I'm saying? If everybody stays healthy, this roster can compete for a championship. Simple as that. It's just that simple. Anybody that covers the Ravens on a regular basis or watches the Ravens on a regular, they know that. I'm speaking to the fans, the people that don't watch the Ravens, who think the Ravens are not as good as we think they are. They're 6-2. I don't think they played their best football. They definitely have played good on defense. As you see on the screen, they're averaging 4.2 yards per play on defense. Let that sink in. They're averaging on defense 4.2 yards per play on defense. The defense has been playing pretty good. The offense has not yet peaked consistently yet. And when that happens, then they are a complete team. And they will be Super Bowl bound if they get the offense to match it with the defense, because the defense has been playing really good. Number 1 in points allowed. They're like top 3 in yards allowed. They might be number 1 in yards. They don't give up much. And honestly, they probably are number 1 in yards because they give up 4.2 yards a play, which is number 1 in the league. So if you're only giving up 4.2 yards a play, I'm pretty sure you're leading the league in yards allowed. So I'm not saying the Ravens are a perfect team. And I will be doing my power rankings video tomorrow. I do apologize. I did not get my power rankings video last week. I know I made a poll for those who chimed in on the poll. I appreciate that, about whether I should do the power rankings as a live stream or a pre-recorded video. Tomorrow I'm going to be back on here again, and we're gonna do the power rankings live. And you'll be shocked to see where I have the Ravens at. Here's the thing about the Ravens. The Ravens play better when they're the underdog. When people start talking about how good they are and they're the best team, and then the Ravens don't play well. I don't know what it is. I like when teams talk shit about them, let the Ravens fly under the radar, and surprise a lot of people. Both their Super Bowls that they won, they were the underdog team. The first Super Bowl, everybody was talking about Tennessee Titans are so good. Steve McNair, Eddie George, and all this. Ray Lewis, they walk right up in there, whoop that ass. Then against the Raiders, Rich Gannon and this. Ravens walk right in, whoop that ass. Then they get to the Super Bowl, New York Giants, spank that ass. Second time around, you beat Peyton Manning, you beat it Tom Brady, like under the radar. Everybody was predicting the Broncos to beat the Ravens. Everybody was predicting the Patriots to win. Shit, even people were picking the 49ers to beat the Ravens in the Super Bowl. They walked into their stadium, and mind you, those games were on the road. They walked into their stadium, whipped their ass, walked right on out, as Tiffy B said. You walked into the stadium, you walked right out, and you spanked that ass. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, I do not want the Ravens to get all the spotlight, because they play better when teams are doubting them. I want y'all to keep talking about the Ravens are not good. I want people in the comment section to keep saying Lamar Jackson isn't good. Keep saying that. Because if you look at his numbers and you look at the value to this team, Lamar Jackson's having an MVP season. So for the people that are saying Lamar Jackson isn't good, you're not watching Lamar Jackson play. You're just watching the box score. And if you're just watching the box score, then you know nothing about football. Yes, you can get a little bit of information from the box score, but you can't get the whole picture from the box score. You got to watch the games. Lamar Jackson's the MVP this year. He don't have to throw for 300 yards to be an MVP. He's already doing that. He's already an MVP candidate, and he's only had one 300-yard game this season. So come on. So a lot of you guys are just going to have to wait and see. The Ravens are going to slide under the radar, and they're going to surprise a lot of the people. I'm tired of hearing. Somebody said this on the stream the other day, talking about, was it, I don't know if it was Jay Kid. I think it was Jay the Kid. The Ravens need to win the. Was it Jada Kidd? I don't know who it was, but the Ravens need to show me that they can win the playoff before I can pick them. This roster is completely different from the rosters that they had before. You got wide receiver talent. You got a really good defense. This roster can take you somewhere. It really can. And I hate to be that woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of guy, but let's be real here. The Ravens should be 8-0. I hate to do the woulda, coulda, shoulda type of thing, but the Ravens should be 8-0. They had no business losing to the Colts. They definitely had no business losing to the Steelers. That was the worst game that they played all year, was the Steelers game. If you take those games, those should have been wins. The Ravens should be 8-0. That's all I'm gonna say. So, I don't need to explain myself about why the Ravens are a good team. They should be 8-0. They're not 8-0. But they're the best 6-2 team out there because they're the only team I can make a case for that they should be undefeated right now. The Eagles had that one bad game. The 49ers have been kind of falling off a little bit. The Miami Dolphins got a couple beat downs. Like, the Ravens have not been beat down. The two losses that they got were very close games. They had not been spanked. The Ravens don't get spanked for the most part. They don't get spanked. When they lose games, they lose very close games. The last couple years, the Ravens do not get spanked. So, like, you're going to have to play a four-quarter game against the Ravens to beat them. They do not get spanked. That's the one thing I can say with a straight face. They don't get spanked, which is why they should be 8-0. Because that Colts game, they were winning. They blew that game. The Steelers game, they were winning 10-0 at halftime. They scored nothing. They scored nothing. Zero. Zilch. How does a team with that kind of talent score zilch? I don't care about, the Steelers are good. You scored zilch with that roster. It was a bad game. It is what it is. But they're the only team that I can definitively say that they should be undefeated. Miami got spanked by Buffalo. Eagles lost, and the Eagles should have lost that game against the Minnesota Vikings too. The Vikings game, that Monday night game, the Vikings gave them a run that game. Who else? The Lions got spanked by the Ravens. So there's no other team that I can defend. The Chiefs. Look what happened yesterday. You get beat 24-9 to the Denver Broncos. The Ravens haven't had a game where they got spanked. So that goes back to my point. What is the reason why you need to make a trade when reality this roster is already proven that they're good? Anything else is overkill. Now, I'm not mad. Overkill is not a bad thing because you can never have enough talent. But anything else is overkill. You know the Ravens don't like trading draft picks. So unless it was the right player, right price, don't make a deal. This roster should be 8-0 as constructed. The scary part is OBJ has not even gotten hot yet. OBJ has not even gotten hot yet. OBJ has not had a good season so far. Imagine if he gets hot. What the fuck do you do then? Because they're winning these games without OBJ even going off. I'll leave that for you guys to decide. How do you stop this offense? How do you stop this team if OBJ gets going? You paid the man $15 million a year, and the Ravens are 6-2, and OBJ hasn't even gotten hot yet. Wait till he starts getting mentally into the games, catching passes, he hasn't even got a touchdown this year. OBJ, we're 8 weeks in. Oh shit! Thank you for that, Drew Dunn. Thank you for that follow. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Well, subscribe. Thank you. OBJ hasn't even gotten hot. He doesn't even have a touchdown. We're 8 weeks into the season, and OBJ has no touchdowns. And I can definitively tell you that they should be 8-0. Come on now. And no, I'm not just saying this because that's my hometown team. I'm not just saying this because that's my hometown team. If you watch the games, this team is very talented, which is why I made that video a couple weeks ago that everybody commented on and got my ass about why was I talking about why the Ravens make me sick. The Ravens make me sick because they should be 8-0, and they're not. And they're talented enough to be 8-0, but they're not. Every team has a shitty game. Don't get me wrong, but against a division rival, against the Steelers, you should have won that game, especially when you were winning the game. OBJ not. Rashad Bateman not even hot yet. Come on now, do I have to keep running down the list? OBJ's not hot. Rashad Bateman has not got cooking yet. You've been winning games with Zay Flowers, Aguilar, and Mark Andrews, and Gus. The two receivers that we thought were going to be like very productive in Bateman and OBJ, they haven't even got going, and we're 6-2. Come on now, come on. So when I see Stephen A. go on First Take and talk about the Jaguars are the best team in the AFC, and Dan Orlovsky going on there talking about the Miami Dolphins are the best team in the league, and I'm sitting there like, I mean, not Miami Dolphins, the Chiefs. Dan Orlovsky, the Chiefs. Stephen A. said the Jaguars, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, but I can go down the schedule and say, okay, the Chiefs lost a bad one yesterday. They lost to the Lions at home on their ring ceremony game. The Jaguars were 1-2. Now, granted, they won 5 in a row. They look good, but like I said, the Ravens should be 8-0. So when I'm sitting here listening to these analysts talk about everybody, Shannon Sharp did give the Ravens credit. I give him props. He was the only one that said the Ravens are the best team in the AFC. If you're watching the games, this is why I say Stephen A. is not watching Ravens games. I'm surprised Dan Orlovsky, because, and I'm not saying you have to pick the Ravens, but if you're an analyst and you're watching the games, you would know the Ravens should be 8-0. So how can you go on TV, national TV at that, with a straight face and say the Chiefs are currently better than the Ravens? Why? Because of Patrick Mahomes? That's it? Yeah, he's a difference maker, but come on, the Ravens are a more complete team than the Chiefs. And that's the first time I've said that in a long time. Even the year that they won 14 games, the Chiefs were good that year, and I still thought the Chiefs were the best team. So I don't know how analysts get on TV with a straight face and say this stuff and kind of stuff. Stephen A. don't even want. I love me some Stephen A. He's entertainment. He's comedy. But I don't know how Stephen A. can get on there and say the Jaguars are a better team than the Ravens. Here's the beauty of it all: we get to play these teams. We play the Dolphins. We play the Jaguars. We play the 49ers. We'll start to gauge, and like I said, my thoughts may change, but we'll start to see how good the Ravens are when they start playing those kind of teams. Because when they play those kind of teams, they play better. When they play teams like Arizona and Houston, for some reason these teams that are not good, they let them linger around longer than they should. When they play teams like the Lions and the Bengals and the Browns, they play up for those games. So it'll be curious to see how they play against the Jaguars, because I'm still mad about that game last year in Jacksonville where the Ravens blew that game. I still don't know. We got a couple of revenge games. Jacksonville, Miami, the Steelers again. We got a couple of revenge games. And then that 49ers game is going to be a great benchmark game as well. So I cannot wait till we play those teams. But anyway, right now we got the Seattle Seahawks, which are a very good team, and I'm not going to overlook them because they are a good team. And boy, Pete Carroll is a good coach, and that's not going to be an easy game. But once again, the NFC team coming into the bank, just like the Lions did a couple weeks ago, and I was very confident the Ravens were going to beat the Lions. I'm very confident that the Ravens are going to beat the Seahawks, because Lamar Jackson against NFC teams in his career has only had one loss. And I do not even remember who that was. I'm trying to think back to who was that one team that we did lose to. I'm trying to think in the Lamar Jackson era, what was the one team that we lost to? I'm just going back and looking. I'm trying to think of who it was. We beat the Eagles in the Lamar Jackson era. We beat the Cowboys. Oh, it was the New York Giants. The New York Giants. That's what it was. We lost. He lost to them last year. That crazy game. I still don't even know how we lost that game. But every NFC team that Lamar Jackson has played, we've won. So Seattle gonna come in here, and they're a good team, and I still feel like the Ravens are gonna win that game. So should be a great game. I wish I could go to the game if I had some money, but nonetheless, there's not much to talk about with the Ravens in this Arizona game. They won the game. I'm not gonna nitpick about the Arizona making a comeback at the end. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna nitpick. The Ravens won. The Ravens got out of there. For the most part, they got out of there healthy. For the most part. So I'm not. There's nothing to talk about this Arizona game. It really is. The defense played well, even though they gave it 24 points. I think that's because the defense started getting tired at the end because the Ravens kept going 3 and out at times. Defense still played well. The offense did what they needed to do. Geno Stone looks great. Michael Pierce looks great. Matt Abike is having a fucking Pro Bowl season. Jadeveon Clowney missed a sack, but once again, I said that earlier in the year. Jadeveon Clowney is the best at the almost. He gets pressure, but he can't sack, but he gets pressure. So it's like I can't knock Jadeveon Clowney. At least he's getting pressure. The defense looks good. Offense could be better, but still, you put up 31 points. You put up 38 points the week before. There's starting to be a consistency with this team now. Offense is starting to put up 30 points. It's been a while before that Lions game that I can think off the top of my head that the Ravens put up 30 points. They've done it back-to-back weeks. Do I think they're going to do it against Seattle? I do not. I think it's going to be like a 27-17 type of game. But still, we shall see. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. This is a recap. Ravens made no trades at the trade deadline. No need to. No Derrick Henry, no Josh Jacobs, no Dalvin Cook, no Chase Young, no Danielle Hunter. It's okay. The Ravens are in good shape. They just need to stay healthy. Anyway, thank you guys for being here for my Ravens podcast. We will be back tomorrow with our power ranking special. I'll be live tomorrow. I do not have a time for you guys yet because I was not going to go live tomorrow. But I do need to get my power rankings video out. So I appreciate you guys for watching this video. For those who are here live, those who are going to watch the VOD, check out tomorrow, Wednesday. Maybe we'll do it early. Maybe we'll do like I want to do 12 o'clock, but I've been kind of sleeping in the last couple days. Like I ain't been getting out the bed till like 1 or 2 o'clock these last couple days. Like today, I ain't get out the bed till like 2:30. Monday, I ain't get out the bed till like 2 o'clock. So we'll see. I've been sleeping in the last couple days, so we'll see. But I will. If you're not following me on Discord, please do so. Please do so. Please follow me on Discord because that's where I put all my notifications of when I'm going live. So if you guys could definitely follow me on Discord. My link tree is at the pinned messages, so you can find all my links in the link tree in the pinned messages. Shout out to everybody that came through on the stream: City John, Tiffy, Juice, Contest Beauty, Drew. Thank you for the subscription. Appreciate all y'all. I will see y'all tomorrow for our power rankings for week number 9. Have a good day, everybody. If you're on Twitch, we're going to be playing Luigi's Mansion around 8 o'clock in a few hours on Twitch. So go follow me on Twitch. We're going to be continuing Luigi's Mansion. We're on floor number 4, and we'll be continuing that in a few hours. I will see you guys later on. Have a good one. Be easy. I surely will, Tiffy. Be the great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a blessed one, everybody.